Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Justin Flitter, and I'm the founder of New Zealand.ai. It was founded in 2016 to help other business professionals to understand, and business leaders to understand what artificial intelligence is and how we can use AI and ML in business, and showcase some of the use cases and expertise in companies in New Zealand that are helping to grow our AI economy. And we've kickstarted the AI show events virtually, because we can't run too many in person just at the moment, although I hope that might change shortly. But I'm delighted to have you here, and I'm delighted to have Asa Cox from Cunningham in Wellington. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. I was just trying to recall. I may have done one of the first AI shows way back when we were launching Farrago, I think.
I think you did. Yes, absolutely. So it's great to have you back on the show and to update on everyone on kind of where you're at and what's going on. So we will have a chat. If any of you on the call want to raise your hand and ask a question, I'm sure we will give it a go to answer the best we can. We are recording this call, so if you wish to watch on demand later or share it with people, we will be publishing it on New Zealand.ai and on LinkedIn channels and all that sort of thing. So Asa, tell us, okay, you came on and you presented Farrago a while ago, which is now one of your products. So give us an overview in terms of what you have built with Arcanum and what you're hoping to achieve with the business.
So yeah, it's been a journey. I mean, like you, we started in 2016 and kind of figuring out what the market wants, what we should build, how we get kind of momentum, and where we got to now is we've kind of become the Unleashing Awesome company, and really helping other software organizations, both enterprise and SaaS, add intelligence to their applications, powered by machine learning algorithms, data science, kind of more generally. And what we got to this point because I think we started off working with government and businesses and a whole bunch of exciting stuff on, if I can use the metaphor of airplanes and airports. Basically, we were trying to design airplanes together before we kind of knew how to fly in some respects. And then we were working with companies that were focused on building airports. So they were kind of putting all that stuff together. And what we realized was we were struggling to move beyond that kind of MVP, proof of concept kind of phase a lot of the time, because there was nowhere for those planes to land. There wasn't a runway for us to be able to put things on or connect them to the airports. And so that's really what we're focused on now with our Accelerate platform. And that's why we've recently raised some money, hired a whole bunch of people. It's because we believe the market is ready to do things with machine learning. It's moved on from what is it, what's possible, to now how do we do it? And that's the bit that we're focused on now too.
So really building the platform for companies to be able to layer their AI and ML capability off the top of.
Yeah, exactly. So either they've got their own data scientists and they just can't get it from the data science team to the software team because they're different types of eggheads, different types of geeks, and they literally speak different languages and code in different languages, and that whole integration piece is just not a solved problem. Or they don't have the data scientists and they work with our data science team to build stuff and then we deploy it and monitor it. Or they're working with a third party, whether it be Azure Machine Learning Studio or SageMaker Studio in AWS, but still getting from we have a model to it's deployed and integrated and looked after are very different problems that require a different type of talent, different type of tooling, different type of capability.
So what are some of the problems that you're helping solve, projects that you're working on at the moment, as some examples of use cases that you're digging into today?
Yeah. So because we haven't gone specialist in any particular industry, we're still intentionally generalist because it's really, where is the urgency? You know, where
you
do
can't go
people
too niche just yet. You've got to be broad enough, because the market in New Zealand's not too huge just yet.
Exactly right. Yeah, we've been saying that for a few years, but yeah, you're absolutely right. So we're working on a few interesting things. A few I can name and talk about because they're already public. So we're working with Henry, the fintech company, to automatically process the receipts, extract information, and that we are using an AWS tech for that. But out of the box, it doesn't work just out of the box. You kind of got to wrap it up nicely and integrate it and test it and do that kind of stuff. So that's a kind of processing problem. Again, that's not our AI, that's an AWS AI. We're working with Ubco Bikes up in Tauranga on some super cool stuff, analyzing the data from their bikes around rider behavior and sort of stuff like that.
Would they take that data and look at it and be able to utilize that in some of their engine optimization, or like where would they take that data out? They use that as part of their manufacturing process to improve their design?
There's three or two, I guess, main use cases. One, for their enterprise customers with big fleets, they want to be able to do predictive maintenance, rider classification. So is this person hooning around and that's causing the problems? Are they on brand with their driving style? And then, yeah, the flow on effect onto that is into R&D. Under what conditions, with what kind of driving styles, on what locations, what kind of journeys impact the durability of the parts or the battery life, and so on and so forth. So it's really getting all of that telemetry data off the bikes to drive both R&D and better user experience. Yeah. And that's generally what we're looking at. We kind of go, well, we all now love Netflix. We love Uber. We don't want to go back to taxis. No offense to Sky, but we don't really like Sky as much as we like Netflix. And that's because they've got machine learning completely embedded into their experience, right? They're doing predictions, recommendations, optimizations, all of that kind of stuff. So as consumers, we like, this is what we want. And the enterprise space, it's kind of slightly further behind that. But in essence, that's what we're trying to help people do, is make that step from, we've got this great idea, wouldn't it be great if we could? We've got lots of data, but how do we get from the kind of data science to the software piece, and how do we bring that together? And that's where our platform comes in.
So really helping companies take a use case idea, a business case, and being able to scale that into a proof of concept and through to production mode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what we typically see is, that people got data analysts, data scientists, whatever it is, and they kind of get these great insights, and then they kind of either sit in a PDF, they may go into a report somewhere, they may inform something internally, like a marketing campaign or something. If you're lucky, it'll get into a dashboard, and you kind of go, now we can see what's going on. But getting it into the hands of the customer or into the application layer, then you've got to do web scale. It's got to be adaptive. It's got to have all of the deployment monitoring and the CI/CD and all that kind of software stuff, which if you keep it in a safe place, either on somebody's laptop or in a dashboard, you don't have to worry about that. But then you're really not getting the value from all of your data science work. And so it's taking that leap to go, let's put it in the hands of the users where it's going to be really valuable, and start getting momentum behind machine learning, because that's the bit that's really challenging, is the momentum piece. We've got to go, great, we've got a chatbot, stop. Okay, great, we've got something new in BI, stop, right? But there isn't that momentum to go, let's just get a roadmap of features and just go bang, 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 bang. That's just not happening.
Well, it's being able to provide that commercialization, that product commercialization, right? If you can serve that up to a customer and create those, enriched digital experiences, then you're making a whole of that data valuable, not just internally, but from a customer-facing side as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really, it doesn't just have to be end consumers. It can be internal, right? I mean, just because we work in a company, why should we expect the software that we use day to day to be less smart than our consumer software, right? So how do we optimize the allocation of tasks? How do we recommend the next best action? How do we get sentiment from our whatever email tickets? How do we make all that kind of stuff, right? It doesn't have to be just the mobile app, web app kind of world. It can be internal as well.
So where's, if you're a business owner or a business leader with some good data and you've got a problem to solve, when's a good time? When's the right, when when's that moment where you've kind of got a hunch that you might have a good opportunity there to come and have a chat to you? What do I need as a business leader to kind of have up my sleeve before I come and talk to you?
Yeah, so our sweet spot is really where somebody's done some of those proof of concepts already. They've kind of gone, oh, we've got this business case. We've tried some stuff out. Maybe we've done some stuff with AWS or Microsoft and kind of proven that at an internal kind of level, right? We've done some testing, done a little bit of integration. And we go, okay, we now believe in a future that involves machine learning. We've got some support for it. We've got a little bit of tech resource that kind of knows what it knows what it doesn't know. And then, okay, we want to go from that moment of 0 to 1. And then, okay, now we want to start building that whole pipeline. So it's at that point where we can co-create what it kind of looks like. Not that everything is bespoke and everything's custom. It's kind of configuration, of what it looks like. But it's really at that moment where there's either some pressure or some urgency to deliver on this digital transformation, these new features, and whether that's an enterprise, if you're a chief digital officer or whatever, telling everybody this is what we're going to do, and it becomes a bit frustrating because of that integration with IT, or you've just raised some money and you're like, okay, now we've said we're going to do AI on our product. What does that actually mean? How are we actually going to deliver it? So it's those kind of moments when it really is a bit of pressure to deliver some of these features. And for us, it's demonstrating how quickly that can happen. So when we've surveyed enterprises predominantly, but also in SaaS companies, typically this take it from the data science modeling bit and integrate it with software either never happens. So 80% of the time projects fail when it goes from data science to IT. That's kind of a global kind of number. Or it can take months. So we know a big government organization type thing where they've got 70 algorithms and models, and their target is to get 5 a year into production because it takes that long for each one. Or if you're really, really good in a SaaS company, it can still take weeks. If you've got good expertise, kind of working together, there's a lot of nuts and bolts and technical stuff. Whereas with our software, it can be turned around in 24 hours, right? So for us, it's how do we accelerate that process? How do we raise the expectations on the business just to deliver feature after feature, right? It's really trying to get into that software mode of continuous deployment, continuous improvement, continuous feature release. And now we've got a platform that can enable that kind of velocity.
So what do you think's holding back? I mean, you guys are ready for pipeline, right? You just want companies coming at you going, we've got this idea, we've got this thing going on, we've got this thing going on. What do you think we need to do in New Zealand to help more people think, could AI or ML solve this for me? How do we spark that curiosity with them? And I mean, you're enabling it, you're making it faster, easier to go through what was a very complicated, process to be able to speed all of that up. And we've got, it's not just you guys. We've got loads and loads of companies in New Zealand with massive amounts of AI capability, but we need deal flow, right? We need more companies to be going, could this help me?
Yeah.
What do we need to do to trigger that? I'm going to get a glass of water.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. Part of it is still the art of the possible, which is kind of a bit surprising. I say when we've got the inspiration of these consumer apps that we use on a regular basis, some reason there's not the connection between, oh, well, if Spotify can do this, why can't my app do this, right? Or if whatever, X, Y, and Z amazing app that we all love, why? So it's just trying to get that, well, if it's possible here, it surely must be possible over here. I think there is also in some respects, the current traditional vendor landscape has, in some respects, lowered technical expectations and increased the expectations of complexity and cost. So everyone goes, if we're going to do AI, oh, it's going to be super hard, super expensive, take a super long time. We need billions of rows of data that's always perfect. And so everyone just goes, that's in the too hard basket, push it down the road a little bit further. And so I think there's a little bit of constraint just through a lack of expectation. And we need to change that conversation to how do we do this tomorrow, not when do we get around to it next year?
Because a lot of people are going, well, okay, sure, Netflix has got a huge amount of ML built into it, but Netflix is a multi-billion-dollar business with resources to the gazoo, right?
Yeah.
So what, we need to make this tangible from a New Zealand business level, and not just the 10 or 15 massive enterprises at the top end.
Yeah.
But how do we make this accessible to the Deloitte Fast 50, to our mid-market companies who are all going through massive growth phase? They're all suffering from the talent shortage, and we'll talk a little bit about that soon. But they've got these business problems where they need to automate and augment, and they've got the data sets there. We just need more of them to go, who can help fix this, and what's the, can we rethink the way that we tackle this problem?
And accessibility is, you've hit the nail on the head, and that's really what we're focused on, right? So for us, our business model is we do not, unless people don't have data, if they've got data scientists, they've got the models and stuff, we don't charge for getting that model into production. We only start charging a monitoring fee and a support fee when it's live and when they're getting business value from it. Whereas traditionally, you go to one of the vendors, they go, well, that'll cost you maybe $500,000 with planning and the team and the testing and the integration and blah, blah. And we're like, well, we'll give it to you in 24 hours and we won't charge you until it's in production, right? So it's just, it's making it accessible because that's the way it should be. And even then, if you don't have a data science team, it's like, we pretty much say it's going to be 2 to 4 weeks per feature, and that will deliver it into production, right? You can have the API and you can put it into production. It's just going, oh, wait a minute. If that's the case and it's that accessible, here's my backlog of ideas that I can actually go through. So if you're a product owner, you suddenly go, oh, wow, I can actually deliver all of this in this quarter, rather than maybe we'll get to it in 2023. And it's just changing the expectations, because it doesn't have to be that hard or complicated or expensive. And the beauty of being in New Zealand is we've built something that we believe is fit for purpose, right? It's fit for the market. We're not Silicon Valley building it for Netflix. We're building it, as you said, for the Fast 50, for the relatively small SaaS companies with some Series A funding. We're not targeting all of those massive digital native companies.
When you're looking for inspiration in the AI space, where do you go? Who are you following? Who are you looking at around the world that makes you get super excited about where the world of AI is heading towards at the moment?
Yeah, there's a few kind of newsletters that I follow, and a few and not less specific people, are more kind of companies that are kind of distilling all of this kind of stuff. And then there is also some of the very niche technology companies that have part of the building blocks that we kind of are involved in. But when you get to see these massive companies and how they're thinking about making things faster, making things better, making things cheaper, that's where we get a lot of our inspiration from. But also we're fortunate that we've got, Scott Houston is our CTO, and he did Green Button and Sequent, and so he's kind of our futurist in residence in some respects. And so he's writing a book on sentient AI. So he's the one kind of thinking that far ahead and kind of bringing some of that madness, stroke genius back into our thinking. So we're fortunate that we've got data scientists in our team that are looking at the technical kind of stuff. I look on the business application stuff, and Scott's kind of looking way into the future and seeing how those three things can align.
How hard is it to find people to grow your team in New Zealand at the moment? Or are you looking, wider afield to be able to find some of that talent?
We haven't yet, in terms of further afield. We've got a few contracts that we use for some specific stuff, but in terms of permanent offshore, we haven't got to that point yet. But I think it's inevitable. Whether that's unfortunate or not unfortunate, I think it's just an inevitability. It is hard when we kind of we kind of look for machine learning engineering skills, right? The connection of data to machine learning to cloud, which is kind of our world. And partly we did that to find people, to recruit them, and also partly to validate the pain that our customers will likely be looking at when they try and recruit people to solve that problem. And so we kind of, the people that claimed to be able to do it, there's about 100 people, I think, on LinkedIn in New Zealand that claim to have those skills. And when we dug deeper, there was about 24 that actually had evidenced, skills rather than just, well, one of their I can do their skills. And then of those, I think it was at the time is about 15 and were either former employees of Arcanum or Intella as it was called, or current employees of Intella or Arcanum. So like the pool of talent in this specific area is so small that, again, we're kind of forced to think smarter because we can't suddenly recruit a whole team to build something out. And we know our customers are going to be in the same position. And then we know that there's big entrants like Servian and other big companies who are offering professional services in this space, and they're going to suck up any talent they can because they're going to bill it out to their customers, right? So it's a really tough space at the moment. And it is more challenging if you want, obviously, to bring people on shore where we can't. And if you're a small company, your first couple of offshore employees, it does change things a lot in terms of culture, dynamics, operations. I'm not saying it's not possible. Plenty of people have done it and are doing it. But we're still a small team of 15. And so it's that those first few offshore really do become, a big decision to make.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. Everyone's in the same boat with this, and when you've got announcement like Amazon creating big data centers here and trying to build teams of 1,000, you're like, where are they going to come from?
Yeah, absolutely. And Google wasn't that long ago. They announced, right, they're building an office down here. Yeah, and New Zealand has proven a great place to do business. There is tech talent here. I think it's a bit of a conflation of things. Like the tech companies here through COVID have been successful. So more money's coming in, which is giving better bank balances to go out and recruit, but the pool of people isn't getting any bigger. So there's actually the demand has just gone through the roof in the last 6 months, and it's so what's the pathway for that easing off? Or it's the mother of invention, right? So let's try and figure out how to do things smarter and better.
Well, this is it. This is creating a pressure valve for companies to go, this problem's not going to go away anytime soon, right? Even if the borders do open to some extent, we are going to have a labour shortage in New Zealand of skilled people for some time. So surely that drives business case and momentum behind, we need to solve this, not with headcount, but with smarter technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think hoping and beginning to see a bit of a shift to, if it's tech and it is integrated into our product, we have to build it in-house, or we have to have the headcount in-house, because how could we possibly rely on a third party to deliver something so important? I think we've got to move beyond that thought to what is critical for the success of our business. What parts do we actually need to own, control, feed and water, versus how do we partner? How do we integrate? How do we, because we haven't got enough smart people to go around for everybody to have their own team of engineers. It's just not practical and not economic.
No, we've got to be nurturing these agency partnerships, right, to be able to get this stuff done. It's leaning on the technology like you guys have developed to be able to, accelerate that process without having to have a whole lot of people. Yeah.
Part of it is also I think a little bit is the investment mentality too. Like if we give you some money, you got to build a team, right? That's just kind of the default kind of process where, what do you actually need to build? What could you buy? What could you integrate? And so on and so forth. I think there needs to be a little bit more sophistication around that discussion as well.
So that's coming through from the investor side, their kind of expectation to build a team if we're going to give you the 5 million or whatever?
Yeah, I think so, especially if, and this may be a little bit cause and effect, if you're pitching for investment around adding machine learning or AI to your product, right? And you talk about unique IP in some way that is a bit fuzzy, and they go, okay, well, we're going to now give you money to build that thing out. So you better go and recruit the team to generate this amazing IP that you've said, right? So it's a little bit, you've told them that's what you're going to do, so therefore they give you the money to do it. And so there's a little bit of both sides not really getting sophisticated enough around what is mission critical that you have internally, and what isn't, what's an enabler and what's a constraint, or that kind of stuff. So there was a little bit, I think, of both people saying, well, we need to build a team, obviously, and that's not always the case.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really really good insight that I think we should talk about more through some of these things. But it's so fascinating. It's really exciting. It's really interesting. We're in a good place. It feels like you know, we have been, you know, having a tough couple of years, but you know, certainly a lot of the companies that I'm speaking to are just, you know, in hyper growth mode. Everyone's trying to hire and or automate to get stuff done. And, you know, generally people are pretty positive about what the next few years will look like. And, you know, certainly for you guys, it looks damn exciting.
Yeah, I mean, definitely COVID's, as it has globally, has kind of stimulated that digital transformation velocity. So the slow pace kind of went, oh, wow, we can do all of this stuff in a few weeks if we really have to. And a little bit that's kind of continued. One of the downsides to New Zealand kind of going back to normal for a few months meant some of that slowed down, and the rest of the world was still like full on to, you know, digital transformation. So a bit of momentum has been lost there in the domestic market. But in terms of those organizations that are targeting overseas, you know, that there's still a massive amount of growth there. I think one of the things that we need to do as an ecosystem, and that's not just AI, but broadly more into software and data and that kind of stuff, is think about integrations and collaborations, right? How do we actually get the sum of the parts as the New Zealand tech ecosystem? How do we begin to work actually a bit better together in order to enhance each other's products, or kind of give each other a kind of step up? Because we like going to the same events, we kind of network and do some stuff, but actually I don't see a lot of genuine integrations and genuine kind of, you know, co-sales or co-go-to-markets and that kind of stuff. And it kind of feels like when we are in New Zealand, far away, with who knows when we're going to be able to travel, we can't all afford overseas sales operations or so. So it's like there should be some more opportunity around that to really help each other.
So is that an MB? Is that an NZTE? Who should be driving that? Is it an NZ Tech initiative? Who do you think should be driving something like that, or should it just be something that we are developing organically?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's probably industry-led, like those that see the need kind of get on and do it. Then inevitably some kind of, you know, how do you amplify that? Maybe some NZ Tech. I don't think we can rely on government to say this is a strategy. You know, AI is a strategy. You know, let's do this, and therefore you kind of bring people towards an end goal. That doesn't seem to be happening, unfortunately. So we can't wait for government to say, hang your hats on this, and everybody kind of head towards this North Star. That's just not going to happen.
If you're tuned in and want to ask a question, by all means, put your hand up in the chat, or turn your mic on and sing out. Clinton has a repax New Zealand as of last year. His observation: time zone isolation is real. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're dealing with, you know, the UK, East Coast of the US, some of that stuff is hard, right? It's certainly a challenge. It's a practical challenge. If you've got families and so on and so forth, it does become a real thing. I think also people, whilst they may know where New Zealand is now, thanks to COVID, now we're kind of, the map now includes New Zealand, which is great. I'm not, well, I shouldn't say I'm surprised. I'm kind of less surprised that you try and set up a call with anybody in the Northern Hemisphere, they still have no idea what kind of time we're operating on, right? So I've gone to, here's my calendar, pick a slot, and I'm controlling the slot, so they don't suggest 6 a.m. or 11 p.m., right? So it's definitely still a practical challenge, undoubtedly.
Gotta love Calendly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look, it's absolutely a challenge, and you know, certainly one of my clients is, we're selling into the US and or North America and the UK, and you're working 7 till 8. You got bookend meetings.
Yeah.
Most days to be able to connect with those people. So definitely feel that. Anyone else got a quick question they want to throw at us? If you're tuned in, it's nice to have a great group of people with us today. Yeah.
What are you seeing with your chats? Is there a particular sector that you're kind of seeing as being more successful than others? Is it a business model or a go-to-market? Like, where are you seeing stuff?
I'm knee deep in B2B SaaS, right? So, as a marketer working across that, I lead New Zealand Tech Marketers Group. So pretty much everyone I'm speaking to in the B2B tech, B2B SaaS space is just going gangbusters. They've spent an awful lot of time, especially last year during lockdown, in build mode, just go for gold, just hanging on to their dev and engineering team. Perhaps they let some of their marketing comms, non-essential people at that time go. They probably hired them back, but they're all now. And like my LinkedIn notification this morning was 30 marketing jobs in Auckland. So and I'm only looking at tech SaaS, right? So all of a sudden you've gone the product marketers, the engineering, the dev, getting all of that ready for market. And it feels to me like now everyone is looking for sales and marketing people to actually start generating those revenue streams. And certainly in some of the tech space, so you talk to like sort of HubSpot and Salesforce and some of the CRM and marketing automation platforms, those guys are super busy at the moment because everyone's doing that sales enablement piece, right? And so with that starts building huge amounts of customer data, and I guess that hopefully that continues to flow on into your environment where people are going, okay, what are we collecting? What data should we collect or need to collect? And then what do we do with that to continue to enhance the customer experience and to be able to provide our team with insights around what to do next, right?
No, as you say, it's a super exciting time. I mean, it's great to see New Zealand doing well despite all of the challenges. And it's how do we continue to do things smarter? We've kind of done things smarter because of our isolation and location. Now that disadvantage is partly being eroded because of the digital transformation, and COVID certainly helped with that. And so now we've got to step up on the regional global stage and really start taking advantage of that position.
Yeah, and I really like your sentiment around some of the local partnerships we should be doing and go-to-market strategies and things like that, because we talk about collaboration an awful lot in New Zealand, and yet we're not that great at it. So there's all of these great initiatives and organizations and communities and programs out there to support the New Zealand tech sector, and I feel like we're really we're a lot slower than perhaps what we could be if we had a coordinated, partnership collaboration approach, and we were doing things a lot more. And that whole idea around you don't have to go and build your team. You can partner with people to be able to run faster. I think is something that certainly mindset shift and talent shortage is going to start pushing people towards. So that's really cool. Hey, look, thank you all. Thank you, Asa, for joining us today. It's been a fascinating discussion. I really appreciate your time and all of you for joining us on the AI show. We will be posting it, and we hope to see you at the next one. I've got a couple of people who are interested in speaking. Yanav's on the call today. I might have to rope him in
You should.
to speak as well about the work that he's doing. I love talking to people and finding out around what they're doing to grow the New Zealand AI ecosystem. And Asa, you're certainly one of the people leading the charge with that. So thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, Justin. If anybody wants to reach out for a chat, to ideate, to do whatever, more than happy to do so. It's all about building the ecosystem and making us all smarter.
Very cool. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you all soon.